Welcome to Real 45 with Stefan and Greg Hancock. We vibe out and have real talk, so tune in and check this out. Yeah, today is a new day. Let's seize it now and get hype. We talking about our careers, our family, and just life. Yeah, share my story with you. Inspiration like every day. Real 45, we gon' keep it live. I keep episodes on replay. Hey, Real 45. Yeah, Real 45. Show them how we do it, man. Yeah.
We're doing it. Hey, welcome to Real 45. This is our 12th episode. I'm Greg Hancock here with Steph and Janelle. And before we get started, we want to throw a little shout out and a thank you to our friends at Titans of Dirt, who have recently partnered up with us and have really been sharing the podcast quite a bit. So be sure to check out their webpage, their Facebook page, Titans of Dirt, and they've got some rad projects coming up in 2018 with some clothing and all sorts of stuff. So keep an eye out for them. Today's a big day for us. We have a very well-respected guy for numerous reasons, and also a good friend of mine now too, Mr. Joe Parsons. He's more widely known as Monster Joe in the world. So, Joe, welcome to Real 45, and good to see you, man. Haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Good to be here in California, Orange County, Costa Mesa, hanging out at the Hancock House. It's looking very, very awesome outside. Got a nice big patio setting, clear windows, clear skies. I mean, you can hear the jets in the background from Orange County Airport. Yeah, it's a beautiful day. It's brings back a lot of memories.
Dude, you just set the theme. Like, you hit it all right there. The airplanes in the background, the windows are clean, not because I cleaned them, but that's I got a great wife. But yeah, dude, you just literally just flew in on New Year's Day, and
caught a flight. Spent New Year's at home with my lovely wife Daria and Adam for our first New Year's together in our house, and actually my first time, living in Poland now since 2013. It's my first New Year's to spend in Poland. I've never spent New Year's night in Poland. In fact, it's only been the second year I've spent New Year's with Daria, because normally at this time of the year, I'm traveling to Dakar. It normally starts on the 2nd of January. But because it's starting on the 6th of January, it actually gave me an extra couple of days to stay in Europe before I actually made my way this way.
Dude,
cool. So it was cool. But man, what a war zone. New Year's Eve in Poland. Jesus. Fireworks. We loved our fireworks. Holy moly. I mean, they're shooting off from every imaginable farm you can imagine, every flat floor. It just looks like a war zone. Like, wow. Big time. Pop, 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 pop. Yeah. Everywhere you looked, there was a display of arsenal, just kicking off.
See, that's the beauty over there too. So you guys, like in Poland, you've got winter over there. Southern California doesn't have winter. So you got winter, you got wet grounds, and you got a lot of farmland and stuff around your area too. So they can fire off and not have to worry about a fire.
Oh, I don't think those elements were of concern.
They had some sort of,
It was going to be lit, and it's going to go and make boom. Whether it's dry, wet, snowing, windy, don't matter.
It's going off.
It's going off. And I got a big bucket full of them to back that one up.
How much fireworks did you buy?
Actually, I lit 4 sparklers.
4?
Yeah.
Oh, you went large.
Yeah. Me and Daria really did the simplicity thing. The Christmas tree, the Christmas lights on the house were just laser driven. It takes 5 minutes to plug them in. Instantly, boom, there you go. There's Disneyland for you.
We got it.
And so then we enjoyed New Year's with
is there
2 sparklers that we lit that burned for not too long, and then we enjoyed a nice bottle of Dom Perignon in the jacuzzi.
Oh, beautiful. But why would you need any of your own fireworks anyway?
Yeah, I know. We just walked out on the patio and it was lit up like a light bulb. It was like, woohoo.
That's cool. Do they have like a special tradition in Poland, like we have when the clocks turns to 12?
Mm-hmm.
Like in Spain, they have the 12 grapes, I think, and here they have this New Year's ball that.
I'm sure there is, and my wife would probably be upset if there is, and I don't really know about it.
Right.
But I would imagine that there is, like in every country, some kind of tradition. We toasted, we stayed up, we called her brother, we called her mother and father, and just kind of kept it low key.
That's right. So you guys had New Year's on your own. Just
yeah.
Nice.
We didn't go out. We stayed up to midnight. We actually watched on Netflix Dave Chappelle.
Oh,
Yeah, and Daria never knew who he was, so that was kind of cool.
Actually,
And then we watched 1980 live, Richard Pryor from Long Beach.
nice. Nice. You're definitely bringing her into the American the American history.
And probably we're in bed by 1:00, and then got up in the morning, had breakfast, and then hopped in the car and drove to Warsaw, and then flew from Warsaw to here. Arrived here last night about 8:30 at night, and by the time I think I got to my mom and dad's, it was closer to midnight.
Dang, that's a heck of a trip.
Yeah, it's not so bad, I mean.
No, but I mean, you land, and like you said, then you got to go pick up your car, and then you got to drive. You flew to LA, right?
I flew into LA, had someone pick me up, drive me to Lake Elsinore, grab my truck from Lake Elsinore, and then drove up to Garden Grove, and then.
Dang.
I think I got home at midnight. But it was good. It was fine. I slept for 6 or 7 of the 12-hour flight, had a good meal, watched a couple, I watched Chips, the movie.
Good. How was it? Was Bruce on there?
No, Bruce wasn't on there. But it is kind of funny. And then I think I watched 3 episodes of Big Bang Theory.
Right. So the Chips, the movie, how was that compared to the series? Was it?
Nothing like it. Pretty funny though, in a way, I guess, considering the environment and where I was at, it worked.
Right.
No,
that's perfect. That's good. But anyway, you're here, you're in California for a short time, and then you're headed off to Dakar.
Yeah, I'm here for pretty much the duration of the day.
Right.
And then leave tomorrow out of LAX at about 1:30. Fly direct into Lima, Peru. It's about 8.5 hour flight. Arrive into Lima just after midnight. I'll get picked up from the airport and go to the hotel. Check in, wake up by 8:00 in the morning, and have a team briefing at 8. And then we start our team process of final steps of registration and entry into the 2018 Dakar.
Right.
And that process we will as a team of say 38 participants. Keep in mind, everybody in the team is considered a participant, whether you're a rider, whether you're a team manager, whether you're a truck driver, whether you're a mechanic, whether you're the engine guy, the physio guy, the team doctor, the team attorneys who help find rules and regulations that monitor the race in support of us, as well as making sure the other teams aren't violating any rules that we're in a position to protest, as well as protesting a protest. There's all these rules that might be taking place behind the scenes of the actual race. So you need a staff in general, or one resource of one person, 1 or 2, or whoever, to manage that aspect of it. And that place can play a part of the strategy as well throughout, depending on what unfolds and what develops as we move along.
So everybody is considered.
So everybody, yeah. So I enter into the race as under a media package.
Okay.
Yeah. So as a sponsor, my role is to help facilitate communications and media for the team, which then obviously our brand capitalizes on the content of that, and we can leverage it back into our advertisements. Where some teams and sponsors might just sponsor a team, but actually don't really go there to support the team, adding value. So when we look at, how do we sponsor any of these events, whether it's speedway or off-road racing or action sports, we also have to allocate resources to help communicate what's going on, into various channels. That's non-traditional, your social channels or some of your bigger broadcasters these days than your traditional, even though you still have to find a balance of both. When we typically sponsor someone, there's more than just a financial investment. There's more than just putting our logo on that entity. There's actually a process behind it on, okay, we're going to go do that. Now we need to allocate, photography. We need to allocate story writers. We need to build up this of what we're doing with this individual, of which then the individual also benefits from it, because his sponsors that are not maybe as active will get communicated via our channels in an organic way. Yeah. So there's different levels. So obviously we take the bigger approach on certain programs like Dakar, where we are the naming of the team, where it's the Monster Energy Honda team, which is the HRC factory rally team, which is 100% built and, developed in Japan. And then there are various outlets that help facilitate the racing team and strategy of it. So, like in Honda, like in our case, the engines, the development of the bike, all of that has been done in the HRC Honda Racing Corporation factory in Japan. And then Johnny Campbell here in America, he represents Honda North America. So he's heavily involved in the back end with HRC on durability testing of the vehicle itself. The bike needs to have durability testing constantly. Yeah. And so with the California deserts being here so easily accessible within a few hours, you can be in the California desert testing, and whether you want to go to sand dunes or hard packed or river washes or mountain passes. We have a variety, I think, that exists right out our backyard. And it's easy for Johnny to, for Honda to ship in a bike, go and run this, test this, and they put all kinds of different type of analytics built into the bike, so they can extract all of that data and learn from what that part or what that thing that they're testing or working with. And then they can just fly in on the riders, from the various countries that they ride from. We have 5 riders, one of them, Ricky Brabeck, which is from Hesperia, out in that area. So the testing environment out there is really, really good for him. So we can use him for a lot of general durability testing throughout the whole year. And then there could be some bigger days where more riders come in from different markets. They have 5 riders, Argentina. We have the U.S. from Ricky Brabeck. You got Spain, which is Joan Beretta. You got Mika Mataj, which is from France, and Pablo Gonzalez from Portugal. So you have all these riders, and all of them have different, characteristics of how the bike should be set up and so forth. And all that can be done, tested here, And
having Johnny Campbell on your side.
Yeah. So now Johnny Campbell, this year, Johnny plays a bigger role within the team structure. He's actually, as I understand it, the sporting director, more or less. Right. So he's going to be working directly with the riders on strategy, throughout everything, how the riders are doing, and manage the riders and the sport side of things. And then there will be other individuals, more upper management that's going to, they got the engine guys that are managing the engines. You got a map guy that's helping us build maps, through Google Earth and so forth. And, summarizing and briefing the riders of what the next day's terrains are going to be like based on, learnings through special maps and stuff. You got a physio person that, takes care of the riders. So when the riders are done or something like that, they need something rubbed out. There's a full-time physios always available for them. Masseuses, things like that. So it's a big operation. And this race is 14 days of racing. And we raced this year after the 2017 Dakar was over, which is when the season officially starts, is when Dakar's over. So Dakar's like the last race of the season, really, even though it's the first race of the year, right? So in April, the season will start, and we'll races in place like Abu Dhabi. They have a desert race in April. Qatar has a race called the Sea Line Race. Vegas to Reno is another race that we do. Then there's a 3-day race in Spain we do. There's a race in Argentina that we do called Ruta 40. We do some racing in Chile. We do some racing in Peru and Morocco. And those are kind of the races in a way that the schedule, if you would kind of do them all. And all of that is part of the FIM cross country rally championship. Right. Yeah. And we use those races as to collect data. Yeah. For durability and testing. So when you add up all those races throughout the year, it might be 25,000, 30,000 kilometers that we've raced. So now we've been able to calculate and do our durability testing on parts, and the day, how many days that part can be used, and the threshold of wear and tear and failure. When does that become at what day?
Right.
Right. And so, and trying to finalize every single piece that's going to be moving around on that bike. And so we know that when we go to Dakar, the brake pads are good for 4 days, right? Yes, they'll do 5. Yes, they'll do 6. But after day 4, the failure rate and the worn rate really fluctuates. But we know this many days, this part is good for. Right. So that has to be chronologically put into a daily maintenance schedule, right? Then you have the logistics and parts issuer. So you have a giant mobile truck, that has all of the parts to build 3 bikes times however many. So we have 5 bikes. So we probably carry enough parts to build each bike 5 times. Over the course of 15 days.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a heavy payload right there.
Every nut and bolt. Yeah.
How many of all these places are you actually on place?
What do you mean?
Like how many of these, you mean the events or just in this particular?
Yeah, the events. I mean, there's not just the car, it's speedway and everything. How many travel days do you have?
So in a nutshell, so I will attend every single GP as I have in the past, primarily. I will attend probably at least another 10 races or so in Poland. That happen there, if I'm home on that weekend.
Like the races.
Yeah. I have done a few races in Sweden. I have done a few speedway races in the UK, but primarily due to travel and the ease of travel by living in Torun in Poland, I have a pretty easy access to the races on Sunday than flying to some other race, on a Monday or a Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever. Typically those days I'm doing a lot of office work from home, expenses, invoices, helmet designs, things of such like that, branding contracts. So that takes place the Monday through Thursday from home. And then the Thursday through Sunday, we can travel pretty much. So if a GP weekend is coming up, I'm probably leaving Thursday night or early Friday morning with a return Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. And then depending on where that race is in Poland on the Sunday, if I get home in time, then I'll get in the car and drive to that race. So, I would say, conservatively, 25, 30 speedway races a year. And then on the cross country rally stuff, I can do anywhere from another 3 to 5 events. Keep in mind each event is on an average of 3 to 7 days.
So you're out traveling a lot.
Yeah, it comes and goes, and then my season pretty much stops right after the last Melbourne GP, for instance. I get back from Melbourne, call it November 1, and then the first week of November, we're doing video and photo shoots for the coming year Dakar. So in this case, Melbourne finished in October. I was home on November 1st. On the morning of November 2nd, I flew to Barcelona and we did video and photo shoots of 3 days to promote the 2018 Dakar, because that starts in January. So we have to have all that collateral done, all of the posters, signing cards, all of the themed elements that we take from that shoot need to be put into all those pieces, all the press packs, all the press releases, all the headers, all the graphics that take place, all have to be built in November, so that by time December, January comes along, those things have already, started being used.
It's a lot more that goes into it than what people see.
And then, pretty much after, I would say November 22nd, all of the vehicles get driven to France, into the port there in France, in Le Havre, and then get on a giant ferry. And the organizers rent a giant ferry that will move, as many vehicles that everybody is bringing And that probably is about 700, 800 vehicles that go on this one boat. And that,
One boat. So,
everything, all the competitors that are from Europe, all the service trucks, all of the organizers' vehicles, the rescue vehicles,
And that includes like the monster, like your
our big MAN 6x6, any of the support vehicles, things like that.
So something happens with this one boat.
But see, it's through the organizers. So so that's why you would want to use it,
A little more security.
There's obviously all insured and things of such. If that boat's late, then the race obviously gets, pushed back a couple of days because it's the organizer's fault. But if you decide to ship on your own and you're late,
you're late.
You're late, right?
Yeah.
So everybody pretty much uses the organizers program, and then all that stuff gets taken out of port in Lima, Peru, today and tomorrow. So it took that long, shipped from November 22nd, and they're taking it out of port today and tomorrow.
Dang. So obviously everything's in place and ready to go. So they take that out of port, they go direct. There's no.
So right after they take everything out of port, we have there's probably a designated area within the capital. Let's say if you think of an idea around here is, let's say El Toro Marine Base, for instance. So everything would come out of Long Beach, and then everybody would drive to El Toro here, and build up camp, right? Because it's already fenced. It's an old runway. So there's a lot of hard ground, easy to secure. You know what I mean?
So it's like a 20 mile or 30K kind of.
If they need to land helicopters, any medical planes, any media planes, things like that, they can use all those facilities that are already there. Closed naval base, for instance, or something like that. They leverage big chunks of land,
right?
And everything will get staged there. And then maybe, much like the Olympics, you have, the athlete living areas, and they're all separated on this giant grid in the city, right? So we got our staging of our base camp, all our vehicles, and then maybe over here they have a thing called Dakar Village, but it might be a mile away. It might be across the street. Depends on how the city and the topography, how it works out, that they can allocate traffic and all that.
Man.
And that Dakar Village will be like the fan zone. Yeah. And that fan zone will probably be open for, say, 3 or 4 days. And 3 or 4 days before the race starts, all the teams are coming in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 or 4 days, 5 days before, getting acclimated to the weather.
I was going to say, like the riders.
On the
HRC team.
Yeah. So tomorrow on the 3rd, I won't be there, but tomorrow on the 3rd, they will be performing what we call a shakedown, a test session, a practice session, making sure all the machinery and the equipment, everything is rattle free and tested and set up and everything good to go. But at the same time, we leverage media out of that. So you might have guests of Honda present. You might have Monster Energy local media content people there, distributors there, to interact with the riders. You might invite a couple of journalists to come there as well to get some story photos of before the Dakar starts.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Then the morning of the 6th, vámonos.
So like you've talked about everything with the team setup and all that stuff, but even Monster's own, like your guys is with your vehicles and your support on the side,
so
that's a whole nother.
Yeah. So what we do is we collaborate and organize with the team.
Right.
So when the team is making all of their vehicle entries and staff entries, they make the entries for us on our behalf.
Right.
So we get entered in as part of the team.
Okay.
Yeah. And we are in our pit, is our vehicles are allocated inside the same pit. There's a pit map, what we would call a pit map, a bivouac map of allocated space based on the size of who you are. Right.
Right.
So if you're a giant team, you might need to be, 4 square blocks. So there's a grid when you come in that these things are all marked off and taped off with a plot map. Mm-hmm. Where's A19,
Okay.
Oh, it's down over here. And then there's like probably a guy on a pit bike at the gate, and you scan in and he looks at where you are and he goes, oh, they're over here. Yeah. Okay. And he rides,
right,
to get to your camp.
How many people from Monsters like you and the crew that are there? And that, how many?
There's a total of 3 of us that pretty much do the journey. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's not just the teams and the riders too.
So we drive,
much
anywhere from 500 to 800 kilometers a day. We help build up camp with our own tents, making sure product is chilled out, all of the standard hospitality type things. We're there to provide comfort and relaxation to the team. At the same time, leverage and help organize the communication that comes out of the team.
A lot on a much larger scale, like what you guys do for us in the Speedway side too. So you give,
So we stay busy.
But if all these things, we just started. What are you doing today? But how does it start? How did you start Monster?
How did I personally start working for Monster Energy? That's a good question. I would say I started with Monster Energy. I used to work for the laptop company called Toshiba. Here in Irvine, California.
And that was how long ago?
That would have been, probably started working for Toshiba in 92. 92 maybe, somewhere, 91 around.
Okay.
And how I started working there is at that time I was just a surfer, man. I was just surfing, I was just enjoying a little bit of that green mother nature a lot. And
how old were you?
Well, I would have been 20.
20.
21. And that was probably the time I realized, I think I need to kind of get a job, I had always had a job. I never not had a job, which, I was a paperboy delivery. I delivered Orange County Register.
That was,
what I mean? I wake up in the morning and get my loaf of papers out there with my inserts and get in here with a rubber band, bag of rubber bands and roll it and put my insert in. If it was bad weather, I had to sleeve every single bag in plastic poly bags and get my BMX bike and wrap that 3 times on each handlebar and calculate how many bags of newspaper you could fit in each of your 2-sided bags, and head out in the morning and go and sling a few papers on people's front doors. And if you did a good job, they gave you a good tip and you had a fun relationship with your customers. And
so even then it was like getting from good to better every day. So you're getting faster and faster until you delivered it.
Yeah. Figured that out. We often, Joe and I, coming from similar backgrounds, it's in this area too. We often reminisce about the kind of things that we did as kids growing up, and it was paper routes. Obviously you start off very young with a lemonade stand. Who didn't do that? But paper route was huge. I remember.
And it wasn't easy to get up a good route. Yeah. Because you would, in a perfect world, you want the route that's, right out your front door. Mm-hmm. But if you're just maybe you got lucky to get on and get a job with them, maybe the route that they give you is 3 miles away.
Oh,
what I mean? So you got to be able to facilitate that correctly. So you might go, oh, wow, that's just too far. It's not going to work for me. You know what I mean? But you might get one that's closer to you, or you take that one and then you get closer to you in time and you get more senior. So you get a better route. But the only way you're going to get a route is if someone leaves.
And they would drop like bundles of papers off in your front, like in your front yard or in your driveway or whatever in the morning, big stacks. Then you had to carry it in and you had to open them up and, like you said, roll them up, put the rubber band around them.
Put the weekly advertiser in.
Oh, you have to do all this.
Yeah, that's what I mean by the insert. So there might be a weekly advertiser, that's running a special this week at Subway sandwiches, whatever coupons are in there. Yeah. And so then that's another stack, right?
Oh, so you had to do that by yourself.
So like take the insert, put it in, roll it up.
You roll them up. And then if it was looked like maybe it's raining, maybe it's bad weather or it's going to rain. So then you have plastic bags that you got to roll the paper, right? Put the rubber band around it and then put that in the plastic bag. So that when
each one.
Well, sure.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you had to have everything delivered by say 9 o'clock in the morning, right? And your papers might get delivered at 2 o'clock in the morning. And you got to be at school by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
so you
learn the work ethic.
You want to make sure you get your bundles going the minute that they're dropped, right? Yeah. So if he comes at 2 o'clock in the morning and drops them off, grab them, do them all, and get everything all ready and prepared, and then I could chill or go back to sleep or whatever. and I knew it took me 45 minutes to do my route. Yeah. So at 7 o'clock, I was done by 7:45, back at the house.
How'd you get your morning surf session in?
Well, because I didn't have to deliver every day.
Gotcha.
I wasn't stupid. I didn't take the everyday delivery, guys, Yeah. So I think I had to deliver like
for you. You just did
like
subcontracting.
It was like 2 or 3 days a week, that you delivered.
All right.
Yeah. Some people only wanted the Sunday paper. Some people only wanted the paper 3 days a week.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you call newspaper delivery etiquette. You had to figure out, you had to like find your clientele. Yeah. Did you have any specials, like guys that you knew, I got to take care of this group?
Yeah. And you knew for good reason, though. It wasn't like, oh, that guy's an asshole, man. He always makes me do this. No, they reward you for it. If you just paid attention and it didn't, you end up learning your client. You end up learning that customer that he wants it on his front porch, and he doesn't want a wet paper. Mm-hmm. So in a lot of cases, I just bag them. I bag those guys all the time because it might be condensation morning, a big dewy, and all of a sudden, corners of the papers are wet and the guy's bummed. Or when you threw it in there, right, it skid and scuffed up your thing. So you had to learn a good technique, right, of throwing the paper to the right location without damaging the frickin' paper. You don't want to line drive that thing in there. You want it to lob in so that it just stops, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if it hits their, front porch and it hits the little, feet cleaners pad, then that's probably a better deal, But at the same time, you don't want to put it in a spot to where he opens the door, it's blocking the door.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
So if it lands here and he opens, he's got to go out and around that. Well, that's not cool, right?
Yeah, but don't they want to open the door and just grab the paper?
They want to open the door, so it should be right in front.
Right, so it doesn't sweep it around.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Gotcha. So these guys should have been like pitchers. Some of these guys probably turned out to be like baseball pitchers or quarterbacks.
Yeah, there were some houses that it worked where you could actually flip it in there and it was in the desired area that it needed to go. And some of them you needed, to actually get off your bike and go and put it in that right spot. And, Mrs. Miller doesn't like it when it's over there, Come Christmas, she rewards you. She puts an extra $25 tip in your thing, and you're like, wow. I went to collect all my bills for the month, and she throws you an extra $25. And so, maybe the guy down the street throws you 10, and this guy throws you 5, and there's another $75 bonus you got for Christmas, and
that's perfect.
Yeah, when you're 15, 16 years old, that's pretty good.
So you go from like a surfer to paperboy.
No, surfing didn't stop. That was what I did all the time. Paper jobs or any kind of other miscellaneous jobs was enough work to sustain my surfing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my outdoor activities. It wasn't like, I need a job to pay bills. No, because I was living at mom and dad's, obviously, when I'm 16, 17, which is the primary years of now I can drive. Yeah. Now I got my own car. Now I got my independence. Now, I can go and do whatever I need to go and do. But I needed to have a job. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. You need gas in your truck too.
Yeah. So I worked at Avis Rent-A-Cars, but the leasing and sales of leased cars. Yeah. So it was Avis Auto Car Sales. Oh, yeah. It was on Huntington Beach. Yeah.
Yep.
It was right there next to Cal Worthington and his dog Spot. Go see Cal. Go see Cal. Go see Cal. I'll stand up on my head before my ears turn red.
He always busts out. He remembers so many of the. This was some of the advertisements from the Cal Worthington Dodge, right?
Yeah.
So they had. Yeah, we won't go into that.
But yeah, I unlocked cars and locked cars on a parking lot for Avis, and made sure that every car started up in the morning.
Yeah.
I made sure that the vehicle had gas in case the test driver came by and someone wanted to test drive that car. You want to make sure the car starts. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure the car has fuel. You want to make sure the car is cleaned. Yeah. So every day you go through that and you go through every single car. You have a big clipboard with all these freaking keys, and you go and start them all up, make sure the fuel level's good. If the fuel level is low, make a note of it, and then after you've done all that, then hop in that car and tell the sales guy, hey, I'll be right back in 5 minutes. I got to fill up, this, Ford Taurus. All right, cool. Go and fill it up. And, if
you had an extra minute,
just
went down, check out the waves and see it.
Sometimes, but it was pretty cool. And then if there was something wrong with the car, maybe the battery was dead or a test drive was happening and the customer says, okay, I want to buy this, but I want the transmission, everything checked out, this and that.
Right.
Then we would use, I think at that time it was Firestone tire. They were just down the street from us. That became Big O Tire, and they did, brakes, alignment, tires, any light maintenance stuff, bigger stuff. We had, a little muffler shop that probably did other stuff. And I would run it back and forth, in various ways. And then what came out of that was, then I started working for Big O Tire. Yeah, because I had built a management relationship, right? I was the Avis guy bringing the cars, signing the thing for the manager. I was the delivery guy. So I got to be good friends with the manager and the owner of the store. And he liked the way I interacted with people and this and that. And so he hired me to, I learned how to change tires. I did tires, mounting and balancing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then they, little by little, I learned, the brakes, and then they put me through alignment school, and I learned, through Hunter alignment and Bear alignment systems, how to align cars, camber, caster, toe, all that stuff. And then it just kind of went from there. I was working at Big O Tires for a little while, and then, what happened there? I went, I kind of got bored of it in a way because, it was not easy. You always had to, a Snap-on tool truck would pull up, and you got to load up on the fresh new tools, and you got to get this to make this job easier. And then a new model came out on a car, and you got to get a different tool, and you can make good money, but you had to have the right tools to do those jobs. You know what I mean? So you're making good money. You're spending a lot of money on tools. You have this tool truck with credit, and you're working a lot. And it was just,
the things you learn in the process, right?
Yeah, it was good from a learning thing, but it wasn't me. It was like, wow, no, So I left that, and then I signed up with this temporary agency. I think it was Kelly Services. They might even be still around.
I remember that.
And just put my name on a list. You give them what your interests are. You give them what your background is. What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do? A minimum amount per hour that you want to get paid. And then when jobs that fit your criteria come up, they call you. They say, hey, we have a job for you tomorrow morning. It's at Toshiba. Can you meet at 8:00 in the morning here's the address. Yeah. Okay. How many days is this for? It's a 3-day, I think, but it may continue. Yeah. All right, good. So I'll go there. I went there, and if you remember the old laptops, they had the trackball off the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Toshiba trackball that clipped on there. Apparently that polyurethane ball was defective in all of their units that were in the warehouse that were boxed.
Oh.
So all these units had to come, get unboxed, take that mouse out, twist that little plastic pop thing off to take out the ball, put a new ball, twist the thing back on, put it back in the poly bag, then put it back in the box, seal it up, and put the factory tape back on it and go.
No.
Yeah. And there's like,
That's how you started.
And there's like 15,000 people out there, 15,000 units that need to be reworked.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's like 10 people in line, and this guy's opening, this guy's taking this, and before it gets to the 10th guy,
right?
you know what I mean? It's all back. Right.
Yeah.
And you're doing that for 8 hours a day for 3 days. Yeah. And then that job ends, and then another job comes up, and then the guy says, hey, these are the guys that worked with us in the past, and we really like their working, so when we post jobs to Kelly as an employee,
mm-hmm.
We only want it to be interested to these people. Yeah. So all of a sudden you have a company like Toshiba that typically gets the same people coming mm-hmm. for work, because those are the people that they've requested from previous jobs. And I became one of those regulars. So whenever work came up at Toshiba, I was on the list of a kind of say a priority. Yes, and I would get a call and they say, hey, we have a job at Toshiba. You know how to drive a forklift? Do you have a forklift license? No, I don't. Oh, sorry. This job is for that. Right. Fuck. So I got this one job where it was like unloading seat containers, you know, and helping build pallets of computers. So I did that for a while. And then the guy that I was always reporting to at Toshiba, I can't remember the guy's name, obviously liked my work ethic. And he just said, hey, you know how to drive a forklift? I said, no, I don't have a forklift license. He's like, man, we have a lot of need for that stuff. And he's like, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll put you through forklift classes. We'll certify you. Yeah. So just here, go talk to this person and they'll, you know, and so I went to this, I think it was Clark forklifts, Clark training or something like that, you know, and got certified. And then if any other future jobs come up at Toshiba, I'm now certified. Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. More or less. Yeah.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah. And so I drove a forklift for a little while. And then I was driving the forklift for, I mean, you guys want to talk about this?
Yes. Totally.
Okay.
We do. No, the cool thing is like you and I, we spend lots of hours, you know, cruising, traveling or hanging at your place in Poland. So we start to reminisce and tell stories. I'm learning even more about, you know, this is awesome.
So yeah, it gets better. So I drove the forklift and the department that I was driving the forklift for was handling all of the returned damaged or product that was malfunctioning from factory settings. Yeah. So like say a Best Buy, a CompUSA, Ingram Micro. Yeah. They're selling a lot of laptops at the time, you know, hundreds of them. Right. And so they're purchasing thousands. Right. And they sell them to you and you have something wrong and you bring it back in. Right. And return it. And then they send it back to Toshiba. So the return department is where I was working in. Yeah. Okay. And you had, and when you receive a returned item from a CompUSA or Ingram Micro or whoever, Best Buy, they have an RMA number, a return material authorization number, right? An RMA number, real simple in warehousing. Yeah. And the receiver then receives this box according to this reference number, this RMA number. And this RMA number equates back to that account and credits that account, right, of the returned product. So their account gets credited. So you're dealing with debits and credits, right, all the time, right? So, but what happens a lot of times is you get these big companies like Ingram Micro, Best Buy, or whoever big box retailer. They don't just return one box at a time, obviously, because they have a lot of buying power and selling power. So they might, you know, every month and a half do their return shipment. Right. So I receive from Best Buy today, you know, 72 laptops. Yeah. And there might be one RMA number for all of those. Yeah. And let's say they are. And so I receive 62. There's not 70 here. Right. Right. Yeah. So now I've got to notify our credit department, right, to let the vendor know, hey, we received 68. The RMA is open for 70. And they go, oh, we have them here. We'll send them. Yeah. So then they show up and then you scan them in. And then now that's closed. But there might be a case where they did send them. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But maybe the RMA number, for some reason on that box, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 happened to be 1, 2, 4, 5. But 1, 2, 4, 5 went to CompUSA's credit.
Oh gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
So then we have to then go into a discrepancy area, right? And look up, okay, what are the serial numbers that you Best Buy returned under that RMA, right? Okay. And then all of a sudden, CompUSA is doing the same thing. And then all of a sudden you go, wow, I got a Best Buy serial number received under a CompUSA debit or credit, right? So I had to find those discrepancies within the system to reverse debit, credit, offset each account, right? So this was all prior to year 2000. Yeah, because the year 2000 computer bug was coming.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this would have been probably 97, 98, 99, actually. It was before the 90s, now that I think more in detail of it. because I worked in the shipping warehouse and receiving, I worked in the return department. Yeah. And then within the return department, I was handling the discrepancies of communicating back and forth to the credit department. Yeah. I then got moved into the credit department. All of a sudden I got moved out of the warehouse. Now I'm in a business casual environment in the corporate ivory tower of Toshiba and Irvine Spectrum, working with the creditors and the debitors on how to find discrepancy items within our warehouse system. Okay. So that the warehouse guy wouldn't have to go and do that. Right. Oh. So I became a bridge. Right. Mm-hmm. So I did that for a while. And then they could see, this is, what's going on here. And then now we're getting closer to the year 2000, and our programmers, that actually did all of the programming, needed someone, because the turnover rate at that time, people were coming and going, because everybody was contractors. So all of a sudden this guy's bidding, so it was a chaos to find good resources of programmers, because of the turnover rate was really high. Right. But here was me, who I learned all of this business flow, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden I get now put into the IT department, and I'm sitting next to programmers, guys that know how to program, but it's their first day. And they're like, okay, where does the product start? You know what I mean? Yeah. They've got to code, look in the code and see how that, right? But I would help them draw the picture first, so that the code fits the picture in the actual logic of what makes sense, right? Oh. So I did that for a while with IT, a couple of years, and then eventually got moved into our web development side of things on Toshiba.com for the computer division, and building, basically graphics, all of the ad banners, the fly-in banners, the animated GIFs, for Toshiba.com, as well as the company intranet. Right.
Where did you learn that?
Toshiba put me through all of the classes.
They did?
Yeah. Little by little, they put me through all these different classes. And I think, over the 10 years or so that I worked at Toshiba, I had, managed to get a certificate for forklift driving. I managed to get, certificates, multiple certificates in all of your Microsoft products. Mm-hmm. Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, things of such. I got multiple levels of beginner, intermediate, advanced training in Photoshop. Mm-hmm. I learned HTML. I learned JavaScript. I learned cascading style sheets. I even learned, when I was in the IT department, the System 36, which is a IBM punch card programming class. Oh, believe it or not. So you'd have to, do your programming and then put that into a punch card and feed that into the computer. And that's how the programs were read at that time. Now, I never had to use those systems, but because I went through programming, they put me through an IBM programming class while I was working for Toshiba, because our warehouse system was IBM based language, right? Huh. So they took you through this time piece of what the computer is today, more or less, and you learned all these steps so that you understood a lot more. But yeah, I did all that stuff through Toshiba. All of my class certificate stuff was all through Toshiba. And then shortly after the year 2000, when the bug was realized that, okay, everything's cool, we're working, we're good. The amount of jobs started to dissipate. Now I was a full-time employee, so I wasn't a contractor. But our departments, little by little, got outsourced to where it finally hit our department, and I was laid off. And then at that time, I had managed to get in touch somehow with Hanson's Beverage Company, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I got involved with them on building MonsterEnergy.com.
And what is Hanson Beverage Company? So
Hanson's Beverage Company is the original parent company of Monster.
Okay.
Yeah. The Hanson family and the Hanson Juice brand was a good for you, cool product, I believe, to our demographic here in Orange County.
And we grew up with that.
We grew up with that, you know.
Do you know about them outside Orange County or US?
Well, in 1954 is when the brand started business. And it was the Hanson family selling fresh squeezed juice to the Hollywood movie sets. They were like the caterer, but the good for you type product.
Cool.
Yeah. And then it built itself up. And then around in 1991, the family then sold the company to our current owners right now of the company. Mm-hmm. And then over time, Hanson's Beverage ended up developing a product called Monster Energy. And then as time moved forward, the Monster Energy brand became such a strong brand within the Hanson's company that then they felt it was a good time to change the name of the company to Monster Beverage Company. And
what year did Monster officially kick off?
I mean, the design of it and the concept was probably designed. This was designed by Mark Hall, the president. I would say he was probably already in his mind developing this product in the year 2000. Yeah, probably is when he conceptualized, you know, what was going to be, you know, what is he going to make, mm-hmm. and that fruition probably came to reality. To where you and I can actually now buy it somewhere in 2002.
Right. 2002.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in 2 years he was.
Yeah.
And you were with the company at?
Officially 2002.
2002.
Yeah.
So you've been there for
I came as a contractor in around September of 2001.
And what was your?
My job was to help launch monsterenergy.com.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like the web manager for that. It was my first role there, and then being that I was kind of the marketing manager for the internet, and coming from Toshiba, which is a very large structured environment, I then obviously saw an easy formula, an easy recipe of how do we take something cool and edgy that we can leverage the internet, you know, to be more effective. Because at that time, at my age, you know, I was a skateboarder, I was a surfer, I was into punk rock music, I was in a backyard party, and you know, I was there chasing the sunshine dream like any other Orange County kid was. Sure. And luckily, you know, in my time of surfing in that era, or skateboarding in that era, you know, I grew up with, you know, Steve Caballero, you know, someone said, oh, who's that guy? Well, he was a guy back in the, you know, Tony Alba, you know, with skateboards.
Not just a guy, they were the guys.
Yeah, they were these guys, the Carrasco brothers, you know, these are all, you know, guys, skateboarders back in the day, you know, when, you know, you had a punk rock band playing in the backyard and there was a smaller mini ramp and it was a good time, you know, keg of beer on the side, you know, you know, and it was a full, you know, that was what we enjoyed as a good time. And then I, you know, happened to get lucky and work for a structured organization like Toshiba and learned, you know, the digital world that's out there. I was never into that. You know, we didn't have Facebook growing up. I think I had a Motorola beeper. You know,
yeah. You went through the beeper era.
Yeah, that was cool. You know, if you had a beeper, that was like,
you were cool,
dude. You were advanced.
Did you realize how big the internet thing should be?
No, it wasn't a matter of that. It was a matter of holy mackerel. I've been blessed to have been involved with, you know, KROQ back in the day, you know, I mean, the music that came out of there, Rockin' Fig down in Huntington Beach, you know, Wings from Wahoo's, I mean, hanging out with, you know, Lance Collins from Wave Tools, you know, and cutting glass fins for him, you know, and then his son, Richie Collins, and all of the other writers that came out of Newport Beach. And
this is totally,
you know, and like, you know, you look at, you know, the clothing brand, Volcom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Rich Woolcott is the founder of Volcom. and he was a hood rat, from Newport Beach, he lived on 207 Grant Street, right next to the Frog House. Frog House was a place that I kind of hung out with, Mikey Bejo and all the guys down there. And it was just, you touch so many different brands. And when I got older, I would say older, call it 28, 30 or whatever, you don't realize, like, you look outside of the box and you look inside the world and someone says, "Oh, dude, where are you from? California?" "Oh yeah, that's right." And then later in time or whatever, the guy goes, "Dude, you know Troy Lee? Like, you know him, or you know this guy?" And what you never realize, if you look back at all the different brands that come out of Orange County, you would go, why is that there? And to be a product of that environment is what I'm blessed to say. It's not that I think, being special or being creative or being, a genius or being this or anything. I just look back and say, all I can say is I've been lucky to have been part of this environment. This was the cage I lived in. And what came out of that cage were brands like Vans, were bands like, TSOL, Suicidal Tendencies, Social Distortion, you look at, Quicksilver was here, Billabong was here, Rusty's right around the corner. It's crazy. Oakley comes from here. A company like Monster comes from here. I mean, what comes out of this world, Gotcha Clothing came out of here. The list can go on and many things, offshore. Rainbow sandals, you know what I mean? Right out of San Clemente, there are so many things and that came out of this environment. And then to say, oh, wow, okay, I'm doing internet marketing now stuff. Okay, great. Dude, we need to do a promotion with Vans. No worries. We know those guys. You know what I mean? They're our backyard bros. Yeah. Right. So we need to do stuff with here. No problem. We can call that guy because, the kid I went to high school, he now works over at Hurley. You know what I mean? We all grew up together in some way. So we made shit happen. We made it get done.
You guys are you're creating networks.
Yeah. When we didn't have networks, we didn't have that, So then to work now in that space is to say, okay, how can we take all of these cool elements that I've been involved in as a hobby and a passion to be involved with? How do we put that on the internet? Well, dude, I just came from internet fucking bullshit, so I know how to do that stuff now. So just give me, okay, great. No worries. But and then little by little, you just, you have learnings of, what works and what doesn't. And
your experience.
And so doing the web for monsterenergy.com, all of the content that went on there, I had to also get. You know what I mean? So if it's stories from writers or this and that. And so I ended up building good relationships with guys like Mokua Rothman, one of our first athletes, Rick Thorne, those two of the guys, back in the day have been athletes and still athletes with us today. And working with those guys, making sure we get their, they got their hat, they got their bottle, they got their sticker or something like that. We didn't have a sports guy, that really facilitate that. That came later, right. And as that became coming towards us, then our president, Mark Hall at the time, said, "Hey, you know what? We can get someone else to do that digital stuff, dude. You've done an amazing job, great, but I really like how you interact with the people on this side. So let's get you into that, And then I got involved in motorsport management, I grew up with guys like Robbie Gordon. So it wasn't hard to connect motorsports and understanding of that, whether it's the Baja races or Supercross or things of that such, that was really secondhand to us around here, Speedway, little things like that. And so my love and passion, was driven from taking, a company and being a part of the company from its birth and trying to make a change and make something different with a different approach. In my case, yes, I was educated per se via technical classes and such that I was taught through. But, I'm a guy that really didn't enjoy school.
You did?
No, school was not cool for me. You know, I did what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I probably didn't do enough because my focus was surfing and was enjoying that sunshine lifestyle.
So you're born in California?
No.
Where were you born?
Where were you born?
I was born in 1970, so I'm not a young buck anymore.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are.
And I was born
I know someone else who was born in 70.
I was born in a foreign world, considering living in California. I was born in Karachi, Pakistan.
Oh,
yes, believe it or not.
How?
My father worked for the government, so he was stationed where American embassies were located in different parts of the world at certain times of the year. So say 3 years, you know, in one country, 3 years in another country, 3 years or 4 years in this country. So I didn't move to Garden Grove, California until 1979.
So
78, 79 is when I moved to Orange County.
So you started school in Pakistan?
No, I left Pakistan when probably I was about a year old. So that would have been before I got involved in any types of, curriculum type things.
Okay.
Being born there, would you have gotten a passport there too?
I'm not sure. I don't know what the dual nationality. Not every country accepts dual nationality.
Right.
Certain do, certain don't.
Yeah, right.
But if it was, then I could have, I guess.
Yeah.
But just because I was born in Karachi, Pakistan, is no different than like my son now, you know, Adam, that was just born in Warsaw.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to file for certificate of birth abroad.
Right.
All right.
I got that with my kids.
Yeah. So it's not a hard process. You know, you file that, you get a social security number, you know, and he's an American citizen and he's also a Polish citizen. So we'll have two passports, one Polish passport and one American passport. Now he has dual because his parents are Polish and American.
Oh.
But like in my case, where my parents were both American, why would I want a Pakistani or another foreign national passport? It wasn't really, you know, you're that young of age. What are you going to, you know what I mean? So I think it only works if you have dual parents like you and Jenny or something like that, you know, me and Daria, things of that nature. So yeah, after we left Pakistan, we spent probably a little bit of time, I think, in Tehran, maybe 6-8 months or something like that. So once again, that was way before my memory.
You think about the time period, the time frame when he was there too.
Yeah. And then in 71. Yes, 71 now. I think we moved to Kafisha, Greece.
Greece?
Yeah. Yeah. And we lived in Kafisha, Greece for a little while. Actually, no, that was Africa. We lived in Africa in the 70s, left Africa in 74, and in 74 moved to Kafisha, Greece. And we lived in Western Africa in Liberia in the area of Monrovia.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were there for 3.5 years. And then we came to Kafisha, Greece. And then we left Greece, I believe, in 78. Yeah. And moved to Boston, where my mom and dad are from. And then my dad found a job after he left the government. He found a job at Hughes Aircraft, right, which is in Fullerton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's
what brought you back.
And that's what brought us out to here in 79. Yeah. So then he moved all of us out here.
So you remember Greece?
I can remember a lot of things when I look at the pictures, and a lot of the memory, I believe, are obviously from past stories of my family and brothers talking about it more than one time.
And then it comes back.
And then it triggers something and it comes back. But other than that, no, I mean, you can't remember a whole lot.
Brothers and sisters. There you go.
Yeah.
You got.
I'm a family, come from 5.
5.
Yeah. I have 3 brothers and a sister.
So you are?
I'm the youngest.
The youngest.
Mm-hmm.
So think where all the other were born.
So actually only myself and Jeff, my third oldest brother, youngest. My oldest is John, we've met. And then I got my second oldest, which is James. My third oldest is Jeff. And then my sister is Joanne. And then I'm Joseph. Yeah. All of them start by J, by the way.
Yeah.
So I believe Jeff is the only one that was born outside of America, and myself. Jeff, I believe, was born in Greece. So my dad had 2 terms in Greece. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He was there once before. Yeah.
Kind of cool. I mean, your mom and dad, they took all of these kids.
Yeah, roughly. I would believe my dad probably, I would say, was working abroad 17 years, roughly. Yeah.
Wow.
So for 17 years, he moved his family, all over. Yeah.
Are you the only one in the family now who is working abroad these days?
Yeah, I'm the only one that lives abroad for sure.
Yeah.
And the only one that probably travels abroad the most.
In work.
Yeah, exactly.
You travel abroad more than most of us.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool. So then, but you went in school here in.
Yeah, my last times of school was right here in Newport. I went to Back Bay.
Did you know each other when you grew up?
No.
No, we're the same age and grew up. And I had some in my homeschool at the end too. I had to register there at Back Bay.
Really?
So, yeah. I didn't go to school there, but I just went there to turn in the papers, get the new assignments, and go away.
Yeah, I went to Back Bay for a little bit, finished my
continuation school.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, you can do your work from home. Basically, go to school once a week for a couple of hours. Yeah, it was good. It worked out all right.
It worked out all right, but it wasn't cool.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't what that worked for me at that time. No. There wasn't a thought of setting a goal, having certain studies done to fit a goal, and really methodically plan out what your career or future would bring you. That mechanism wasn't for me.
I know exactly what you mean.
I was living for today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow hasn't come yet. So I'm not worried about that,
I'll cross
the teacher always talking about things that happen and what will be good for you in the future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They never told you what to do today.
No.
I think that one of the most coolest things for me in general, if I look back on everything, most of the time, the people I was around were older than me. A couple years, 3 years, 5 years. You know what I mean? So you learned a lot in life and street smarts, depending on who you hung out with in that sense. Growing up in Garden Grove, California, back in the early 80s, we had everything thrown at us. We had the Asian gangs. We had the Hispanic gangs. You had the black gangs. You had the territorial gangs, from, Santa Ana, from Westminster, so you had the Crips, you had the Bloods. We're not too far from Compton Street, in the 70s, all the way through the 80s, 85, 89, and you look at music artists. This is where, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Exhibit, Tupac. This was what was coming out of Compton. You look at bands like Sublime, TSOL, Suicidal Tendencies. Dead Kennedys. So much stuff was coming out of areas not too far from around where we live, and that's what we grew up in. It was a lot different, but it was. I mean, we didn't think of danger.
No, it was not.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
I mean, we didn't think of danger. I mean, I was a 12, 13-year-old kid, and I would hop on my bike and, I would go and ride for miles,
Yeah,
I'd be 5-6 miles away from home on my bike.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a dirt jump over there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or over here, there's a guy that had a backyard ramp. And
you had to ride on the big streets.
Yeah.
We would never let our kids do that today.
No,
you don't have any cell phones.
No. But what we did have is streetlights. So mom and dad said, you better be home before the streetlights come on.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
How do you know when they are?
Oh, you knew.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
there was no time on that.
You know what time they're coming to come on at. They're going to come on at 6 o'clock, 6:02, 6:03.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have a watch, you better make sure you had some way to know the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You knew.
You
just knew.
Yeah.
You judged by the light looking over the sun going down over the horizon.
And you knew that within that time, you better be close to home already.
Yeah.
Don't start thinking about going home 5 miles away, too late, right? Because then by the time you get home,
you're busted.
Yeah, you're SOL. Exactly right. Yeah. So, I mean, we did a lot of fun things, and we explored, we went a lot of places, and we BMX'd and we skateboarded, and wow. Yeah, we experimented.
But today you're living in Poland. You're like living in Poland.
Yeah. I live in Poland. I'm married to a beautiful wife, Daria, and we have a beautiful son, Adam, and we built a home in Torun, Poland, and we've moved in as of April of 2017. And yeah, I would say I'm very, very, very comfortable where I live. I like what I do. I like working for Monster. I'm going on 17 years now. Basing in Poland works very well. I'm close to the Speedway community. I'm close to keeping up to speed on the gossip of what's going on in Speedway, the movements, the silly seasons,
the Speedway movement.
Yeah.
But talking about that, how I mean, you went from
a paper route,
yeah,
to
driving forklifts, to changing tires, and working on commuters, and and then working for a cool energy drink brand.
Yeah. And then when you start there, you built up the webpage.
Yeah.
And now you're helping out in Speedway world. How did you choose Speedway, or did someone?
No, I think let's face it, it's not rocket science here. Okay. Once you learn how to bake a cake, you don't need to read the recipe anymore. And when I say that, I think when we started working with this company, Monster Energy, and we started to build this up, and the employees and the management and the leadership clearly had a direction of where we're going to go with this. That model was developed right here in Corona, California, with the individuals like myself, amongst others, talented people that grew up in the same environments as myself, and we all walked the walk and talked the talk. And upper management gave us the right, clear direction, and we were the conduit to those communities. We were the guys that could go into those surf cultures or BMX cultures or motorsport cultures and hang out and talk the talk and walk the walk with the riders of that space. And so once we got that recipe of what works, when you go to another foreign market, you just take that same recipe, you dial in the ingredients, you change the ingredients based on the landscapes. So when you look at Eastern Europe, you go, okay, what is a cool motorsport that resonates with our brand, that's communicated quite effectively, like Supercross in America, right? So when you look at Eastern Europe, for instance, the Nordics, that one sport obviously is soccer.
Yeah.
Right. That's but that's not us. At least it's not us for right now. Not to say that soccer isn't cool. Soccer's cool. That's great. It's just not a category that we're in, maybe one day we will, maybe not. So we look at Speedway, and Speedway is
golf.
Well, no, we're not in the sport.
No, it's an athlete, but it's kind of cool.
And that is the same way we I think is a good way is to get involved with individuals in other sports than getting involved in the sport itself. Maybe the sport's too mainstream. Maybe it just doesn't fit our marketing scheme or whatever it may be. So anyway, Speedway was a category that was cool, motorsports. We had it here in Costa Mesa. I had a relationship with Bruce Penhall at this time now. And it's just, our CEO, when he had sent me over to Europe, basically said, hey, look at Speedway. I think that's pretty big in Poland and Eastern Europe. And so I looked into it, and I called Bruce, and Bruce had mentioned me, Greg, and that's how our paths probably connected in 2011 or so, roughly. Yeah. That was when we first connected. And a lot of that came through Bruce and so forth. And then it just kind of made more sense to get involved at the GP level, however we can, and so I had managed to get a contact into IMG BSI, and we ended up, being able to negotiate a comfortable commercial deal. That's worked out, I think, great for us. It's worked out great. Well, I would hope to say the fans are happy with what we've done for the sport. Some fans are not happy with how much maybe success we've had with it. We've been very blessed, with the success of it. But I would, attribute that really to the fans in general that are receptive to our brand in their space, in their sport. And so it's been a great relationship, and it's an ongoing relationship.
And how do you see the future? What can you do more for the sport and that you can gain from it too?
I think there are limits and thresholds to what you can and cannot do. And then there are tweaks and balances that you can make, providing that the environment is receptible to that. There are a lot of rules I think you might want to change as a rider. There's a lot of rules that you might want to change as a fan. And not always everybody's going to be pleased. And a lot of the changes, might be positive towards one fan, but negative towards a majority, or vice versa. So you have to just kind of tweak and balance, I think, to find out what's going to work. And some of the things that, I'd like to see, especially within the GP aspect of it, is more onboard cameras, more fan interaction.
For sure.
Things, that work, good locations, good tracks, healthy riders, those types of things, I think, is only going to make the sport good. When you look at this case, for instance, Greg, yourself being out of the sport majority of the series, Niels was out majority, Nicky was out, love him or hate him. He's an icon. He's a character within the sport. That obviously affects ticket sales. When the heroes aren't in the sport, even though we had a great year of racing and we have new heroes this year, Jason Doyle, rightfully so, he dominated it.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you want the current heroes to be there to help sell tickets and build it up. And some sports don't retain that. Some sports retain that. And that's a balance of what you have. Having healthy riders, whether it's a rider that we endorse or our enemy or our competitor. I think it's always good to have healthy riders. And that's what this sport, we need to figure out a way to keep those riders healthy. So that's a change, when you go back, what would I see the change is some way, to not take away from the racing. We always want to keep it, fast and dangerous and on the edge, because that's what it's all about,
For sure.
I want to smell that engine. I want to see the rubber burn. I want to see, I want to see the crashes.
Yeah.
I want to see the trials and the highs and the lows and, the controversial aspect,
And have a little dirt in your hair at the end of the night.
And have a little dirt in your hair at the end of the night. Yeah. But most and foremost, I want to see a bunch of healthy riders. So how can the sport, the sport has obviously from when Bruce has started, a lot safer.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
You look at NASCAR, it's a lot safer.
Have you had an active part in that?
No, we haven't. Some of those mechanisms, I think, are FIM level. Mm-hmm. That's not our place. That's not our space. We're not there to do that, but we will help if we're asked to. We will contribute to resources to, but we're not there to do that for the sport. I think that's what the organizers are there, the sanctioning bodies, FIM, and that's what FIM is there for, is when they put their approval, their stamp on an event, typically a lot of those good things have, safety rules and regulations are at the forefront of the event. Some other events might not have that, and safety is compromised, and then the athlete, ends up getting injured, or
I think it's cool too, because nowadays it feels suddenly that the organizers and the sanctioning body, the FIM, have a better collaboration with the riders and are starting to listen and at least giving us an opinion so we can say, hey, we feel that this should be changed, this should be altered, this could be better. Not saying it's got to happen today, but tomorrow would be really cool because it's only going to make things better for everyone. And we need to have an open dialogue. So it feels like it's slowly but surely is starting to get a little bit more elastic that we're able to do that. And by doing so, you have a much better relationship overall, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool comment from you. I mean, that wasn't what I was expecting. It was like, it's got to be raw and cool and, But
at the end of the day, in order to make it raw and cool at a consistent level, all the players must be able to play.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you gotta find that line, that balance. And safety needs to really be at the forefront of how do we achieve that balance.
Amen.
Yeah.
In any sport, not just speedway, in any sport, if the show's going to continue, it's got to continue with healthy and safety put in mind.
That's cool. Have you tried speedway yourself?
I have given it a couple turns here and there, I think we played at the Molilla dirt track one time on that bike of ours. And I think I played with Tomasz Golob in Bydgoszcz. He let me play on his bike for a little bit.
For a little bit?
Yeah. I love the BMX bikes. I love dirt bikes. But I've learned to really enjoy having a vehicle with a cage over me.
Oh, yeah.
I feel much safer, things of such.
Everybody over here says if you're from the dirt bike industry, then as you get more advanced in your life, they say the cage comes with age.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what it is.
It's not cool to drool. So I would say I prefer, off-road type.
All right.
Enjoyment.
The cool thing is he got to try a speedway bike with Thomas Golob. I have to elaborate on this because Thomas Golob, for those who don't know Thomas, is like the huge icon in the world. Still, for me, is probably the best speedway rider I've ever seen on a motorcycle. He's so flamboyant. He's like everything that he does. I studied with a fine-tooth comb because it's just no matter if he's a competitor or not. He's guys. Just,
sure, he's an amazing individual on his craft for sure.
And he's a very closed guy, so he's very difficult to get close to get to know. And that doesn't mean he's a bad guy. He's actually a great guy, but it's only a fair few people that actually get a chance to get close to him and get to know him a little bit. And Joe's one of those guys.
Yeah, I spent three seasons with Tomasz and his manager Tomasz Gazinski, who's become I would say a good mentor in a way. To bounce ideas and questions off, specifically within the Polish community of Speedway, the politics and all that stuff that get involved, and work with them for 3 years. We were a big sponsor of Tomasz's. We had a great time, and it was great to see him come from a closed person, at least with myself, and having to, I don't speak Polish. He doesn't speak much English. You know what I mean? So it was almost like, you put it back in like some barbaric days. It's almost like a couple apes trying to figure shit out.
Sign language.
A lot of ooh, ah, yeah. Yeah. So it was the modern ape dance,
Yeah.
It was good, we figured it out. And in the end, that door opened up more and more. And, you might have noticed it, him doing, hanging out with us, the more signing sessions, and a little bit of his personality coming out little by little. It was cool to be part of that. And one of those moments was, him pushing me on his bike in Bydgoszcz, where he's from, at the Bydgoszcz track. He's in his Kevlars and steel shoe. I'm in my Vans.
Of course.
And you had his helmet on.
Yeah, I had a helmet on. Yeah. Had my Vans, some jeans. No gloves.
No gloves?
No steel shoe.
But you have a helmet anyway.
I had a helmet, yeah, absolutely. No gloves, no elbow pads. I think I was wearing like a windbreaker.
It's confidence.
Yeah, but it did slide. You get it to
Not particularly. No, I was just a matter of. I think I went around the track maybe 3-4 times and felt the acceleration, on the straights, and then backed her off in the turns, and then kicked it up on the straights and backed it off in the turns.
I read somewhere that the speedway bike accelerates faster than a F1 car.
An F1 car.
From 1 to 100.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's hard to really probably measure that, 100%. But definitely the weight to power ratio, you would, on, I think, a mathematical, scheme would say yes.
All right.
But then you have the traction variables and things of such that you have to vary in that a F1 car,
You just go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. And if they got their tires warm before they get to take off, and but it doesn't seem how that could be possible. However, I mean, the speeder bike does accelerate pretty quick.
Yeah.
But I saw David Coulthard did a cool thing with what's his name, the Isle of Man dude.
McGinnis.
No, not McGinnis. It wasn't him. Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting.
Dunlop.
No, not Joey Dunlop. Oh, this is bad. Okay. Anyway, there was a really cool reportage that they did, and Coulthard is doing like 3 different events, and it's basically from a standing start to a certain point to see which one was quicker, and then it's one in like a slalom to see which one was quicker, and then they do a few laps on the track, and Coulthard has to let him go on the bike and take off and do a few laps, and then he's got to lap him, I think, once or twice.
Oh, I think I did see something like this,
and I feel so bad that I'm forgetting his name. It's just, and it's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, it was rad. If you ever look it up and see what they did, I just thought it was a cool comparison, and you get a real good idea. So it's really tough to think how a speedway bike could be quicker. But being a speedway rider, I'd like to say it's true.
I mean, speedway bikes are quick for sure. There's no doubt about it. No gears, no brakes, 500cc engine, burning methanol.
Yeah.
So
it looks cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, turn right and go left.
Doesn't make sense at all, right? At all.
No.
Yeah. So, well, you know what? I mean, we realized that there is somebody behind Monster Joe, and there's a Joe Parsons, and you heard it all from Joe's mouth.
Yeah.
And we had another question for you, but I don't think it's going to work because he pretty much answered that question.
Yeah.
We had one final question. We were going to give you like 45 seconds. Mm-hmm. We have a segment, maybe you've heard it. I don't know if you've heard it before, where we ask you like as many questions, random questions as you can within 45 seconds. Yeah. But we wanted in 45 seconds for Joe Parsons to tell everybody something we didn't know about him.
Yeah, and I've told you a lot so far, huh?
In 45 seconds.
I mean, in 45 seconds that someone doesn't know much about or didn't know about me. Okay, 45 seconds. Let's see.
Are you ready? Hang on, we got to get the timer. We have to do this in 45 seconds. We have to follow the guidelines.
Yeah, the guidelines.
If we don't do it, we're like bad.
45 seconds or less.
45 seconds or less.
To tell all you listeners out there something you haven't that you don't know about me, and we haven't discussed this already.
Yeah, and this is something we don't know about Joe Parsons, not Monster Joe.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, I didn't become Monster Joe until I started working for Monster. So anything prior to Monster was not Monster Joe.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let's start.
1983. Some of you guys might have not known this, but I actually was a breakdancer, and I used to breakdance for Vans tennis shoes.
Oh.
And we actually every Wednesday nights would actually go up to the Disneyland Hotel and put on small shows. And then randomly also I'd be down at Big John's Hall in Compton and hanging out with all the individuals that did the breakdance right around probably, if you remember the movie Breaking.
Breaking?
Yeah. There was a breakdance movie that was out, and that's what I did.
Wow. Say no more. Dude, I need 45 seconds.
That was cool.
Great answer.
Yes.
Nope. Can we see some proof of that?
That's the next
I'm a bit rusty at these days.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, Joe Parsons, Monster Joe.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us some time, and we enjoyed. I always enjoy rapping with you, but now Stefan got to know you, and I think all the people that listen to this, they get to know a little something more about you. So we're stoked that you would give us that time.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and hopefully everyone enjoys the words of what we spoke about, and make sure if this you guys can follow us on the Dakar journey that's coming up. Dakar.com is probably an easy site you can go to. Okay. I think one of the big sports networks here in the U.S. NBC Sports, I think they cover a 1 hour show every day. starting from January 6th through January 20th. We'll be in Lima, Peru. Then we'll make our way into Bolivia, into the capital, La Paz, where we'll end up in Argentina in a town called Cordoba on the 20th. And then we'll pack it all up and then make our way back home. But it's an amazing journey to follow. We have an American rider, Ricky Brabeck, who's one to watch, and which would be great to represent Stars and Stripes in a big rally like the Dakar.
As we know from you, this is a big year, right? So,
yeah, this is the 40th celebration of the Dakar Rally. This will be my 9th Dakar attending. So for me, it's definitely become a way of life. I plan all year long for the Dakar. I get ready for the Dakar all year long. We race in various countries all year long, planning and preparing and understanding logistics and what works and what doesn't. Packing your clothes, all that stuff. You have to get pretty efficient, when you're on the road that many days, and you got to make sure everything's going to be clean and fresh. In this type of a race, this is the Formula One racing of off-road. So we are partnered with Honda as our primary partner. Honda is a big corporation. They run a very, very smooth operating, product environment type shift. Honda products are a polished premium product. So our work environment on a daily basis has to represent the cleanliness of that organization and that brand. Obviously the same as Monster. So everything has to have a place. Everything has to be efficient. Everything has to be clean. You're working on greasy, dirty motorcycles, but the floor isn't greasy and dirty.
That's cool. But, and the best way to follow you guys is...
the easiest way is going to be Dakar.com. You could probably go to the YouTube channel.
I thought you would say monsterenergy.com.
Well, we are not a sponsor of the race.
Oh.
Okay. Now we sponsor race teams. And of course, we will be putting out communication imagery on a daily basis on monsterenergy.com, on Monster Energy's Instagram, on our Facebook, on our Twitter account, any of those social channels. But if you want to follow the race itself as a whole, as an outsider, you're probably best to go to Dakar.com or to Dakar, the YouTube channel, where their TV show, every day they put out a 25-minute video that gets fed into 190 countries.
Wow.
Yeah. So we broadcast to 190 countries, the Dakar does. And that same show that gets broadcasted gets put up on the YouTube channel the day after. So you can get a lot of the stuff that's all in Eurosport and all that stuff, It's pretty good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the final thing that you mentioned about this race has been won by KTM.
16, 17 years KTM has dominated this space, and it would be very, very, very great news to make 2018 the 40th celebration of the Dakar Rally to be the year that Honda takes the victory lane.
Can they?
Absolutely. Mathematical, our riders, everybody. I mean, it's almost like Supercross in a way. The door's open. It's a long race. Right. You could be the most mentally fit, physically fit. You could have the best equipment. But, you have to, does Mother Nature throw you that ace card? You know what I mean? Did you prepare for the unexpected? Because that's what it's going to take to win this race. And it's not a race. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
Why do people do it? Why do people want to go through? It's an adventure. It's like, why does someone want to climb the Himalayas? Right?
Yeah.
Right? There's a bug up there. Yeah. And that bites you. Yeah. And it keeps bringing you back. You enjoy that bite.
That's where you unleash the beast.
And that's Dakar is the journey, the adventure, the logistical planning that goes involved. It's more than a race, and what you learn from it. In some cases, you can plan better in your own life. You can organize things easier because you got the whole kitchen sink got thrown at you,
Yeah. Yeah. But your whole life story you just told us was all about that from what you started with, and all the different things you have to do to learn how to be timely and organized and to get to that point, so you can see why you're the guy doing the job today. So
I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful every day. I'm very, very grateful to be a kid coming from Orange County, not the formal education that a lot of people might have. I didn't excel in that department, but I guess where I was very fortunate is to be where I am today, and to, have my roadmaps have crossed certain individuals, and you take pieces from that, and luckily for me, those pieces became a puzzle.
That's it. Life lesson.
Yeah.
Joe, safe travels, man.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Thank you.
Stay successful.
Absolutely. We'll keep doing what we're doing.
You got it. See you soon, bro.
Welcome to Real 45 with Stefan and Greg Hancock. We vibe out and have real talk, so tune in and check this out. Yeah, today is a new day. Let's seize it now and get hype. We talking about our careers, our family, and just life. Yeah, share my story with you. Inspiration like every day. Real 45, we gon' keep it live. I keep episodes on replay. Hey, Real 45. Yeah, Real 45. Show them how we do it, man. Yeah.